I was saying before, I could speak in French and Italian and English. When I listen to the people speaking here, I don't hear very much. All I hear it is like this. I get one word every now and then: records, inspector, layouts. No, 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 I'm saying I'm the dog. I'm the dog. That's what I hear. Okay, so I am also the author of a tool called Inspector Pro, which is this is the about screen, and we're working on the next version, Inspector Pro 7. It's been a long process to get this version updated because we've been doing a lot of work under the hood on it. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that we're doing that are changes in the new version. So what did you have for lunch? Today? That's easy. You can remember right away. Yesterday? A little bit harder to remember what you had yesterday. Last week? Very hard. Depends where you ate. And then last month, maybe almost impossible to remember last month. When you have a tool, when you have a solution that has a lot of complexity, even if you come back to it a week later or a month later, whatever, it's hard for you to know where everything is connected. So whether you use this tool or other competing products, base elements or FM perception or cross-check, those tools help you in your development to understand where things are, and they serve different purposes and different objectives. What I would like to do today is tell you some of the areas that we focus on in our tool to kind of give you some ideas as to what is coming and what we focus on. So areas of improvements and focus for us. We have a whole slew of items that we gather when we process the DDR. How many of you know what the DDR is? Okay, you all know. Good. You passed that test, that question on the test. And so what we do is we have been up until this new version. Every time we process the DDR, we process all this extra information. And if we, in comparison, you would compare it. We're, comparatively speaking, we're pretty fast, but we do all this extra work. And so I'll show you what those extra areas are. We're adding search capability, so they go integrated search across the whole analysis. We may be adding it so that you can search across different analyses or across all the solutions and all the analyses. But for sure, we're adding it so you can search across all the analysis data in one place. And so we've had for the longest time, you can search all calculations in an analysis, but we're going to add global search for all the elements and all the calculations in an analysis. We're also adding Logicator support. I don't know how many of you know Logicator from Mark Scott. You should go to the Beeswax website, do a search for Logicator. It's a great. It took me last year. I think I demoed integrating Logicator at the French conference. Took me 35 seconds. It's very easy to integrate. And John Renfrew and Mark Scott are one of the first two people that have been championing this idea of this external reference to a file using the card window. So if you have an external file, you don't have to embed all the logic of that code into your solution. A little bit like what I showed today. I had an external file reference that was dynamically assigned, and so I have all the support from Logicator being in an external file, and I didn't do anything other than just copy a few scripts, make a file reference to it, and all the functionality lives in that file. So very, very cool to explore. We're improving the way comparisons work from one analysis to another. In the past, we were very verbose in terms of what we would report as a comparison, as a change. That's being improved, and you're going to have support for different databases. You can, meaning that if you compare, if you have in development a file and you've changed the name of the file, you'll be able to map those two files and say they're the same file, that just the name is different. Before, we couldn't do that before. So that's improved. We're focusing a lot on collaboration, and we'll see some more details about that. And performance is always, kind of our number one priority, and so we'll see that. And then we're bringing back some of the visualizations that we've had in the past. So let's look through some of these details, some of these in more detail. Again, we normalize a lot of other aspects of the DDR, and I'll show you why that's important when we come to look at some of the demos. But just as an example, let's say you're looking for all the script steps that have a show custom dialog because you need to localize them or whatever. Instead of searching in the results that you get back from the DDR, Inspector has already codified or normalized all the script steps, so it knows where each show custom dialog script step is. So you don't need to search over there. Besides, searching there would add an index into to that search script step table, and so it would slow down for future imports. So we already have and we know where all the steps for show custom dialog are in use, and we can take you right there. Another example might be things like go to layout by destination. If you need to know if a solution is using indirection for fields or layouts or now scripts, you can go to this go to layout by destination and see all the different types of or ways that you could go to a layout by calculation, layout name by calculation, layout number by calculation, go to original layout, go to a specified layout, and I forget what the fifth one is, but you could go there and you could see all the places where those are referenced. So if you have a layout and it's showing up as, there's no references to it, you could go and see if there's any indirection in use before you delete it. Because you have to have confidence to delete the things you're going to delete. And you have to understand the system that you're working with. We're adding a new feature called table distance, which is really cool, which is on a layout, if you have fields on a layout, it'll tell you how many hops it has to go to get that field to resolve on that layout, or in calculations, in field calculations, or in record level security calculations. Those are the two places where you set the context. The other calculations are determined at runtime, so like a script runs and it takes you to a particular layout. Unfortunately, in those calculations, we don't know how you might get to a layout, and we don't know what the layout is when you execute the script, so we can't tell you the number of hops that a field may need to take on a specific script. But on layouts, the fields that are on the layout or calculations and record level security calculations will be able to tell you how many hops it is to get that field on that layout. Searching. Again, I mentioned before, we can search across all the analyses, across all calculations in an analysis, and then we built in Logicator support. Comparisons, we did improvements in comparisons. Support for named databases, I mentioned that before as well. Collaboration. So we've gone the route of being able to host Inspector on the server, and I think we were one of the first to be able to get the plugin to process the DDR on the server. So we're taking advantage of the fact that it's hosted, and that as we continue to evolve in the FileMaker community, we're also seeing that not just one person can do everything. I know at our company we have people that have different skills, and so we have JavaScript developers, we have people who work in IT, and all that. So we're able to host it and share collaboratively what we have in terms of analyses. So we have notes that you can attach to any object. We have multiple user accounts, so multiple people can log in. And we've added this new concept called manual references. So you can have a script or a layout that's referenced. So like for a script that could be referenced in a schedule, you can add a manual reference to mark that. And every time you run another analysis, that manual reference carries over. So you can know that, hey, this script is being used in a schedule, or this layout is being used by the data API somewhere. So you can add those manual references to that solution or that analysis, and it carries forward. We're adding integration with HipChat and Slack. So every time you run an analysis, you could throw a message into the Slack room for that solution. And so that's kind of cool. We have other features along those lines too. Okay, performance. We've processed the DDR on server. We've been doing that for some time. We are splitting them up in groups now. We have about 484 XSL files that we process every time we send a DDR to the server for every XML that we do. And so now we're splitting them up into groups, meaning that for you, all that means is that as soon as the core group of items is done, you'll be able to get control and start searching for things. So it'll be much more responsive as a user experience. The plugin has been multi-threaded for some years, so it's really, really fast. It's really performant. Okay, I think that's it. Oh yeah, data visualizations, they're coming back. So I'm very excited about that. So we have a discount through all the conferences in Europe. It's 40% off if you can get the current version right now, and then you'll get a free upgrade to the next one. And okay, so I have just a couple of minutes. It goes quickly, 15 minutes. All right, let me switch over. This is the current shipping version. I just wanted to kind of show you something that people might not be familiar with. There's a whole area. Did I lose my mic? Still there? Yeah. There's a whole area that is kind of hard and confusing to navigate to, but let me show you some of those areas in the new version, so we can kind of take a look here real quick. So in the new version, you'll have like these are layout destinations, like I was mentioning before. So there's like in this case, if you wanted to delete some layouts, you would have to know that you're using go to layout go to layout name by calculation, because you might have a kind of a variable to determine that layout name, and so that layout is not going to be referenced. So using a tool like this can help you gain insight or confidence before you delete a layout. This is one of those views. We have a lot of different views. Let me show you one for steps. These are all the script steps, like I was mentioning before. You can search them by area. You can pick an area, or you can search them by step. And you can go and see all the places where that step is referenced, and you can hot link to that step. So that's another one that's also kind of gathering all this extra information for you. And then there's the last one I show you here, which is states. Basically, any state for any object can be is categorized. So let's say I wanted to find wait for completion. There's two of those that we have, which is wait for completion refers to waiting for perform script on server, true or false. And so you can see them either by state or by step. And so there's all kinds of ways that you can filter this data. So anyway, those are just some of the views, and I think I'll have to end, right? I have 1 minute left. Okay, I'll show you just if some of you who have not seen this before. This is my fun thing. This is a force-directed graph, and every circle in here is a script. And one of the exciting things that we're working on is to give you the ability to add some code to your script and turn on something called a script viewer, which is a live viewer. So Inspector will generate this code for any scripts that you tell it you want to view or visualize. And in your solution, when that script gets executed, it will light up the node of the script running at that time. So you can have a live view to code being executed from your system that users are using just as a kind of monitoring tool. So that's kind of part of some of the features that we're adding in Inspector. And so I think, any questions really quick before I wrap it up? No? No questions. Okay, cool. So thank you. Yep.